It's not the most uncommon thing to find yourself at the receiving end of a horror story in a public gathering. After all, everybody has their ghosts, don't they? And it's only natural for them to want to share what haunts them with anyone who might listen. Makes one feel like they're not quite alone in this. Everybody has a little experience that they can't explain, or a faint memory that just doesn't make a lot of sense while still seeming very real. Most of the time, we brush it off as a hallucination. Maybe you just heard it wrong. Of course, a man in white clothing wasn't really standing in the middle of the stairwell you just passed. And of course, they are just bad dreams, nothing more. What else would they be? They certainly don't explain the marks all across your legs. But that's okay. You find a way to rationalize that as well. Every single time. At the end of the day, we all have stories of the unexplained, weird mishaps that just can't be understood. And we deem them just that, stories. But what if you find yourself living through one of these stories? You experience the horrors they promise firsthand. Dread slithers in your bones, and the fear takes over you. Yet you keep telling yourself, this is not real. None of this is. Yet, if it isn't real, then what possible explanation do you hold for the terror you're feeling? Oh, what's that you say? You haven't faced fear like that? Ever? Well, allow me to change that for you. Come, don't be shy. Take a walk with me. Let me paint you a picture. Try to live through it, okay? Let's start by imagining ourselves in a quiet Indian village. It's not the shabbiest establishment, not by a long shot, but it's not the most advanced living either. What little development this place sees is a mere echo of what it should have seen. Somewhere along the system, the money meant for your little village drained into the pockets of this figure of authority or something like that. But that doesn't concern you. You still like it here. You've grown used to this place over time. You want change, but change is scary. You recall, do you want change? You think you do. But what would you even change about this place? The buildings? The education provided? Maybe some health facilities even? Or would you change the traditions? The way locals have lived for hundreds of years? Do you have what it takes to change that? And with it, everything the village stands for? You probably don't. But who knows? Maybe one day you might. That isn't important though. The important thing is that you've lived in this place for decades now. Yet this little slice of rural India keeps surprising you every once in a while. You know every mapped inch of it. Heck, you even know the unmapped parts, the arcane bits, the parts that get lost in the dark, the ones that nobody dares put into words. Although, someone does it. It's human nature after all. If there's a story, it needs to be recorded. It needs to be printed deep inside everyone's memory to make sure it lives on through the ravages of time. Your village has a few local legends that nobody likes to talk about. The legends of dark, hidden places. These are the unmapped parts of your village. Over the years, it feels almost like talking about them has become a taboo. This doesn't stop the whispers from spreading. I mean, how could it? Whispers, much like water, flow through the smallest of cracks And in the dark of the night, these whispers make their way to those who lend their ears to it. The adults talk amongst themselves, half believing these legends, purely because they grew up listening to them every day. Later they would tell these stories to their kids, trying to keep their kids alive should any of these terrifying horrors be true. But on a deeper level, keeping the stories of the village alive for future generations to come as well. You are no different than them. You, like everybody else, have heard these stories, and you've subconsciously learned to coexist with them. You take every suggested precaution without even realizing. You keep living your life here, and it is all very normal. That is, if you ignore the whispers, the damning, relentless whispers. They always find you. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. Even if it takes a few years, they will come for you. Just like they come for everyone else. Finally, one night, your worst fears come to life. You've had nightmares about this. You've been conditioned for this. And under the covers, your elders have rigorously taught you how to get out of this. If one unfortunate day, this actually happens, you know what to do here. At least you believe you do. You weren't doing anything peculiar when it began. It was a fine winter evening, and you were on your bicycle, coming home from work. Night had fallen early, as it tended to do in these cold months. Work was slow, and you were bored out of your wits. But you managed to survive another day, and now you're free to go to the comfort of your house. It wasn't even that late, but the darkness had only strengthened the whispers, and the whispers had compelled even the sanest of individuals to hide away in the safety of their homes, full of light, with their families that brought them joy. They preferred it this way, and tried with every breath to be miles away from whatever they thought lurked in the dread of the night. Nobody could confirm whether the stories were true or not, and nobody dared to be the one to fact-check it. You, sadly, didn't have the liberty of being locked inside your own place before sundown. So there you were, in the dark, putting up a brave face for whoever could see you, while hoping that nobody did. You'd been cycling for a while now, and fatigue was slowly taking over. You figured you could just get off the bike and push it back home. It wasn't that far away now. So, you start treading, humming a little to yourself, watching the path that laid ahead of you as the moonlight illuminated it, making your way across town. Suddenly, you reach a massive old tree, and having already been on the road for the past hour, you decide it might be okay to just sit down under it. With your back against the tree, you closed your eyes, when suddenly, you heard a slight rustle of the leaves above you. Your eyes shot open as the words of the villagers came swarming back to your ears. Don't sit under the trees at night. Spirits reside in their branches, and they will take you away, never to be seen again, the voices say. You try to shake it off, telling yourself it's nothing more than a stupid superstition. Somehow, you still find yourself standing up, taking your bicycle and hightailing out of there towards home. You're trying not to think of their words, but they have obviously spooked you. You start muttering a prayer to the Lord. It's said this prayer wards off the evil spirits, and you are willing to take whatever aid you can get right now. A little while later, you come across an intersection, and in the middle of it stands a woman. A white saree drapes her entire body, and a veil covers every bit of her, except for the mouth. The unforeseen appearance of this lady makes you jump, and you breathe in deeply to bring yourself back to your senses. You look up, trying to comprehend what is standing in front of you. And then, all of a sudden, in one bright moment of flashbulb memory, you recall what your elders taught you. They warned you about a woman in white, standing in the middle of the road at a time of the night when no soul with any sense would dare step out. She would seem harmless, and for the most part she is. She seems to be calling out to you, but you barely understand anything she is saying. You were always instructed not to go out in the dark if you can help it. However, you were always taught not to run away should you meet this woman. Much like a lot of other things, running away is an invitation for her. You turn your back on her without greeting her, and she will take that as a signal to pursue you. That is never going to end well. Instead, if you are down on your luck so bad that you find this old lady, you go up to her and listen to her. Don't talk. Never talk. Just listen. Listen to what she has to say. More often than not, she will ask you to drop her off somewhere. Maybe at the bus stop, or maybe at the railway station. Wherever she wants to go, except without a single word, and don't say anything. Engaging in conversation is also an invitation. Just gesture at her to follow. If you're in a vehicle, she'll sit behind you. Otherwise, she'll just keep walking, right by your side. Against your better judgment, you do as you have been taught. You walk to her and listen as she begs you to take her to the old railway station. You know it's defunct now, and no one ever really visits there anymore. But you dare not point this out at the moment. So you just gesture at her, accepting her plea for help. Happily, she sits behind you, and you start walking, when you remember one other detail. Fire. That was the key to surviving this encounter. You don't smoke, but the seeds of fear sown by the rural legends in your childhood grew as plants. Plants of paranoia, deep inside you. This meant that no matter where you went, you took a pocket lighter with you. Little did you know it would ever come in handy. You pull the lighter out of your pocket, and you turn it on with a sharp click. Everything in your vicinity is submerged in an orange hue, and you notice that you don't have a lot of juice left in your lighter. A little less than half its capacity. That's not good news. Fire keeps all these spirits at bay. It's the final line of defense. As soon as the fire goes out, all hope for safety flutters away. You are slightly confused as to where all the fluid went, because you don't smoke, and you barely use the lighter. So what could have happened to it? It was not the time to debate about your imaginary use of the lighter, so you shake your head and you keep on moving. You tell yourself it's okay. You don't actually have to go to the old station. All you have to do is make it to your own home Once you're there, you can just let the woman stay outside and she'll go away on her own. That's how it's always been. You just need to get home. Slowly pushing, you look at your source of light and realize that you should technically be safe. You hadn't broken any rules so far, and you definitely had more than enough fuel in your lighter to get you home. From your estimates, the lighter should run for at least 20 more minutes, and you were a bare 10-minute walk from security and comfort. You start feeling pretty good about your chances of survival. You've prepared for this after all. The woman, sitting behind you, keeps talking about one thing or the other. You try not to pay any attention to her words as you silently keep on repeating the prayer of the Lord. Although, something feels off. Maybe it's the fact that you can feel her eyes on you from under the veil. Or maybe it's the fact that, despite hearing a constant lively chatter from behind you, it still very much seems as if her mouth is not moving at all. You're scared. Confident, but scared. You want to turn around to see her once, just to make sure. You don't know what you want to make sure of, but you just do. Showing tremendous willpower, you manage not to turn around. You're not supposed to look at the old lady. Everyone is aware of that. So you simply do not turn back. Turning back equals surrender, and you don't want to surrender. So you keep going. After 5 or maybe 6 minutes, you reach another intersection. Your house is straight ahead, and the old railway station on your right. You keep going straight, while the woman protests from behind you. She's still not hostile, and soon quiets down on her own, falling back to her chittering about nothing in particular. And you just keep on moving silently. It's been a long time since you left for home, and a mixture of panic and fear is being reflected in the beads of sweat that sit heavy on your neck. On these little droplets, you keep feeling the woman's breath from time to time. It's icy, and it sends slight shivers down your body. But you have no choice here, except putting on a brave face and keeping on walking. After an elapsed period of time, you notice a change in the atmosphere. It's still dark, and the air is still chilly. But everything seems denser now. The air feels heavier, colder. It has gotten harder to tread through it, almost as if you're facing a slight resistance. But that's not all. The darkness differs now too. For starters, the moonlight has disappeared. The moon is still there, clear as day. But it isn't illuminating your surroundings or your path anymore. It's as if it has turned its back towards you, and the darkness is overpowering everything now. Whatever the case may be, you're unable to see anything around you, except for that tiny glow of your lighter. But this doesn't make sense, so you try to shake the feeling off, reminding yourself that your house isn't far away. The lighter is about to run out now, and you begin to feel like you're moving in a loop. You, scarcely optimistic, pushing your bicycle by its handles, with a lighter in one hand, and a strange woman in white sitting behind you on the carrier of your cycle, talking incessantly and breathing down your neck, sending chills down your spine. All of this is happening inside a small, safe bubble of orange illumination, and you are acutely aware that outside this bubble is nothing but darkness that has come to life. More time has passed, and you're still not home, even though you should have been. It scares you more than you already were, but you know you must not lose your cool. Don't talk to her. Don't turn back. Don't stop praying. You keep reminding yourself, but that doesn't help subdue the increasingly stronger waves of panic. You glance at your lighter, only to see that it's out of fuel. What's keeping the fire burning then? You ask yourself, knowing you have no possible explanation for it. Perhaps just a pebble of luck thrown in an ocean of misfortune, and you're drowning in it. Nonetheless, you're not complaining. In this hour, you'll take whatever aid you can get, no questions asked. Whatever is keeping you alive as you move towards your house with what appears to be a lady who isn't acting hostile yet, is bound to run out. And as soon as that happens, you'll learn if she really is hostile or not. You murmur, and you pray that you don't have to learn this tonight. The fire. The fire is the only thing keeping you alive. There is no definite proof the thing behind you isn't hostile. But then again, there's no proof that it is. You know you don't want to risk it, so you just keep moving. And finally, the darkness lifts and the moonlight returns, giving you a sight of where you are. As you look around, you see an old metal banner with something written on it. It's almost illegible, having been beaten down to its currently crumbling condition by years of wear and tear with no maintenance. At last, you're able to read the words with some effort, and reading them sends you into a shock. It's the old railway station. You can't figure out how you got here. The only place you shouldn't have gotten to. It makes no sense. But then again, nothing has been making sense ever since you got this lovely passenger on your back. Trembling slightly, you keep going, intending to stop only at the gate of the station now. A light breeze starts up, and you don't feel it. The tingling fear in your bones, numbing everything else. You eventually take a note of it, only to see the lighter's flame is getting restless. Dread starts settling in your very soul as you start to realize that your luck has run out. And just then, the lighter goes off. You stop moving immediately. Click. Nothing happens. You try again, more desperate. Click, click. Still nothing. The lighter remains unlit. You look around in a panic, unsure what to do. Click, click. A few sparks. Not enough for a fire, but they do give you some hope. Click, click, click. More sparks, more hope. Yet, the hope is as long-lived as the sparks. It appears and it flickers away. Not enough. Deep in your bones, you know that nothing is going to help you now. You grow increasingly desperate. Your lighter clicks, becoming more and more frantic. And then, you hear it. A low growl, coming from right behind you, accompanied by labored breathing. There's something about this growl you just heard. You know this growl isn't solitary. There is a toothy grin that you can feel without even turning back. And yet, you're sure the old lady is baring her teeth, and every strand of your existence screams at you to just run away from there. But your body is frozen in place. You know that this is the end of the line for you. In your last moments, you make a decision. If you die, right here, right now, you want to see what kills you. You want to be able to look your death in the eyes before succumbing to it. You start to turn around, to face whatever sits on your carrier, as the voices of everyone you have ever met in your village come to you. All of them are saying the same thing. Every single one of them tells you not to do it. Turning around goes against everything you've been taught. Years and years of teaching has imprinted on your brain the fact that no matter what, you are not supposed to turn around. However, you realize that this is the end. And at this point, turning around or not is the only thing left under your control. In a split second, you make the call and you turn around, lighter in hand, only to see the same innocent-looking old woman in a white sari with a veil covering her entire body except for her mouth. The next moment, you hear a slash, as if a blade tearing through something. You look down to find a deep cut running through your body. The next moment, you hear the sound of a bicycle falling. Following that is the fainter sound of your precious lighter crashing onto the dirt. Finally, you hear the heavy thud of an adult body hitting the ground. You look at the body laying at your feet, and it's you. But you are standing still, unable to understand what's happening. Looking up, you see the woman fading, her mouth turned in a smile that's difficult for you to place. It's not a happy smile, but it's also not a sad one. It's haunting, the smile. It's a smile that you know will keep coming back in your dreams. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but she will smile at you again, and you know it. Your body is crumpled up on the ground. It's probably living the last dream of its existence. And then, as if nothing happened, your body rises up. The wound in its chest, healed. Even the clothes are spotless. It picks up the bicycle, and then the lighter. It looks at you, and it smiles. It's the same smile as that of the woman. With that, the body is gone. It walks away with the bicycle, and you're left there, not really feeling much of anything anymore. No pain, no fear, just an emptiness. You stand there for an endless amount of time, waiting for something to happen. You keep waiting, but when nothing happens, you resolve to go away from this place. You walk up to the tree where you first sat down on this unfortunate night, and you sit there once again. As the sun rises, you start to fade, and as soon as the light of the sun leaves, there you are again, in the darkness. However, soon something happens, and it's not something you could have guessed in any possible manner. The legends of your village changed. The old lady from the intersection. She has faded from everybody's memory. Everybody's but yours. You remember her brightest day. You remember her taking your body and leaving you alone on the abandoned railway station on a cold, raven black night. The tales of the old lady are now replaced by those of a lone man. Nobody tells you about it. Nobody knows you're dead. How could they? Your body is still out there while you're here, spending countless days and nights hoping somebody is unlucky enough to have no choice but to stumble out at night. You don't want to hurt them. Not at all. You're gentle. You just want directions to the old railway station.